One Piece chapter 521. I'm say this right now. Damn. Damn, this is some deep shit, man. This is deep. I wasn't expecting this, man. You mean to tell me that Boa Hancock used to be a slave? And a slave to the celestial dragons, and that's why she has this hatred for men? Oh man, and this is the other thing. For a second, when she's talking about the fishman tiger who saved her, and had the hatred for men, I was like, is she talking about Arlong? Because Luffy thought that sign on her back was, she thought the sign on her back was Arlong's symbol. The one that Hachi has on his forehead. And now I understand. I thought that, because I bought into what the manga was saying earlier, that on their backs they have the eyes or whatnot, and that's why everybody gets turned into stone, and we find out the truth. They're branded with the symbol, the hoof of the celestial dragon, and this comes into something I've told you guys for a very, very long time, and I'm a victim of this. I got caught in the narrative, but I've told you guys from the very beginning, if you've been here on my channel and watched the reviews from chapter 1, one of the first things I talked about was a literary device called paying attention to an unreliable narrator. When you get told something in the universe, you have to ask yourself, how reliable is the character that is narrating what happened? And we found out that the Boa Hancock had the eyes on her back, so we're thinking, oh, okay, so if she takes the shirt off and bathes and somebody sees her back and sees those eyes, they get turned into stone, and you believe it because it's the Amazon. She's like, oh, they live on an island. That makes total sense. And yet Luffy saw it and didn't get turned into stone. That should have been the first red flag there. But I was so caught up because I was going, woo! So I was totally caught off guard on that one. But this is what's interesting about this. They wanted to make sure that nobody knew they were slaves. And they're deceiving everyone. I mean, this is crazy. Like, Oda, oh, shit. I don't know what it is with women's backstories and Oda, but Oda always has some type of crazy backstory for the women. And it's early, because we don't know the details. And there's a lot of stuff left out, but just off of what we got, and because of the brief moment that we saw how evil the celestial dragons are, Boa Hancock might have the most heartbreaking story out of everyone that we've been introduced to. Like, up until this point, I've kind of had it. Like, I personally think it's Nami, though I really feel as if Sanji and Nico Robin are kind of tied for second. I can't really put them one ahead of the other, and for a while I was tempted to kind of move Nico Robin over it, but I've gotten some distance from Water 7 to kind of say I still put Nami ahead. This shit's on anything Nami did. Like, Nami, to a certain extent, like, she could have turned her back. She was a slave emotionally to Arlong. Arlong held her village hostage. Arlong killed her mother in front of her, or her pseudo-mother, because Belle was not her mother. But she killed her in front of her. She felt guilty. She tried to raise the money for a village. She went through hell and back for her people. But at any point, Nami could have walked away. Yeah, Boa Hancock, she couldn't flee. She said herself, she was fed the love fruit just out of amusement. Boa had to live a nightmare of being a slave, of having no way out, of not being able to live your life as you want to live it, have no free will. And we've seen how the Celestials treat their slaves. It's a very toned down version of what happened here in America, where, hell, my ancestors, the way they were treated. I mean, I've actually gone to the plantation in Nashville, Tennessee. I remember we drove down to Nashville, me and my mom, and actually stood in the cabin where one of my ancestors was actually in, because I think it's Andrew Jackson, whoever the person who has that plantation in Nashville, one of our ancestors was actually there, and I saw the name on the registry and everything. My mom did one of those DNA genealogy things that traces everything back, and just being in that cabin and seeing the conditions you had to live with. Boa Hancock, now that I know this is what happened with her, I can understand it. It just got real. It just got real. Like, this is nuts. And the fact that Luffy's no longer on the archipelago where the celestial dragons are, and yet Luffy flat out says, I hate them. Do you know what they did to my friend? And now that Luffy hears this story, you're going, wow. Wow. I could see Luffy, and I might be reaching here, but we know that his father is rebelling against the world government. I could see a scenario where Luffy, he's going to be king of the pirates. But unlike Roger, he isn't just going to usher in a new pirate age. Luffy might usher in a new age, period. He might take up the will of his father and his own will and just change all this shit. Because the celestial dragons are a problem. Hands down, they're a problem. And I could see Luffy saying, like, I hate their ass too. They're in my way to being king of the pirates. It is what it is. I'm kicking all their asses. I could see that. He's already declared war on the world government. And the world government kisses their ass because they're nobles. But this whole thing with the slavery, wow. Wow. And this is what I mean with human psyche and everything. Oda has a good grasp on it because it explains why she took the stances she did. Playing up the character, I'm so beautiful, everyone loves me, and acting all holier than thou and better than everyone else, and looking down on people so much that she's actually looking up, and it just makes sense now. She's covering up her own past, everything that she's been through. That's her way of coping. I mean, it totally makes sense. This is so beautiful way this is handled, but so heartbreaking. And you might ask yourself, why is this so important to you? Well, see, this is the thing. When you look at it from a craft perspective, sometimes less is more. Sometimes you can tell us more about a character by only giving us the breadcrumbs and allowing us to use prior information that was sprinkled in the story to connect our own dots. And Oda himself even said in the SB Corner that one of the things that he purposely does is he'll insert something like Rayleigh being on Roger's ship during one of the flashbacks, and then if you catch it, you say, oh shit, that's the same guy. I mean, so it makes sense that Oda kind of sprinkles it in and reaches back for it. And that's what I mean, less is more. Sometimes you don't need it outright spelled in front of you. And a media like this where your lines are wasted, or not wasted, you can't waste your lines because you only have about 18, maybe 20 pages to tell the story you want to tell for the chapter. And it's very visual medium. You have to be careful with your words and with your language. Everything here was done beautifully. Oda could have just as easily given us a few flashback chapters like he did with the Sanji thing, but no, he just gave you just enough and progressed the story. And that's when she says, you know what? I'll take you wherever you want to go. Now that I've gotten that out the way, I know some of you guys are like, what'd you think about the thing in the Coliseum where Boa Hancock tested him? I thought that was cool. And I was right. Boa Hancock was looking at all those personalities, not those personalities, all those traits in Luffy, and she asked herself, she said, is he being serious? I'm going to find this shit out. And she says, okay, you got to choose. I'll give you the ship and you can leave the island. Or I'll turn them back into, I'll reverse the petrification. I'll turn them back into flesh and blood. You can't have both. And she has an internal monologue. She says, we're going to find out what your true colors are. And now we understand why they said don't tell her about men and all this, because that's why she has her hatred of men, because she's scared of them. She's scared of them. And so now when Luffy bows his head, they're going, somebody with such strong haki is actually bowing before someone else, and bowing because on behalf of someone that he's indebted to. It just shows you, I mean, Luffy's cut from a different cloth, and you can kind of say like Garp instilled some of that in him. Because, I mean, you can't grow up in a household of somebody that's in the military or Navy or whatever and not have a respect for people. And I like that you're seeing that, and I like that that's one of the things we see here is Luffy has imprinted on Boa Hancock. And now I don't think they join the crew or whatnot, but Luffy has an ally. And ironically, he has an ally with one of the 7 warlords. Now maybe we see a scenario where Boa Hancock, she ends up being in a situation where she's forced to choose between fighting Luffy. Because you know when Luffy finds out his brother's being executed and the 7 warlords have to fight on behalf of the world government, Luffy's going to be in a situation where they're going fist to fist. And Luffy did say, like, do I get to fight you now? So maybe that's foreshadowing. But at the same time, because of what happened on the back end of this chapter, I could totally see a situation where she keeps the title of 7 warlord, but she doesn't fight on behalf and maybe fights on the same side as Luffy as a form of gratitude. You never know. But Oda's opened that door up. So, I mean, this is interesting. Really, really interesting. And so my chapter question for you guys, I'm going to keep this one simple, right? How do you personally feel about Oda jumping into this whole concept of slavery and touching on topics that nowadays in our society, if you bring up anything race related or anything like this, people, they get the panties in a bunch. Nobody wants to talk about it. I feel like sometimes the only way to heal is to pull the scab off, let the shit bleed, let it get some air, and then move from there. Oda just is using his medium to talk about all the ugly things about society, because slavery existed in every corner of the world, and we like to tell ourselves in every country it never happened, or we like to, you know, gloss it up and say it happened, but we moved past it. And yet at the same time, the effects of it are still, they're still there. So I love that Oda has taken this approach. And like I said, it's not Oda's thoughts on American slavery or anything like that. It's not that, but it's just more about the concept. Because what's interesting that a lot of people don't understand is that in certain parts of the world, you still have some of this going on. And so it's very real. And in the Southeast Asia part, you still have some parts where there's a caste system. That in itself is a form of slavery, because you're a slave to a system. So I like that Oda is just letting it all hang at this point. And it's very ballsy, and it tells you at this point, because I know One Piece, like I said, around Water 7, I did my research around Water 7, One Piece skyrocketed in sales. Skyrocketed. Like, I don't know the exact volume number. I want to say volume 36, 37, 38, somewhere around there. But One Piece skyrocketed, and it just kept going up at that point. Kept building and outselling everyone. Like, at one point, I think it was like 2 million, 3 million volumes sold just for, not volume, yeah, volume sold for one volume. And you just have that much capital where you can do whatever the fuck you want. Like, Oda dabbled a little bit in Skypiea with the whole religious stuff. He just went balls deep with this one. I'm loving this. I'm hoping that Oda continues to take more chances craft-wise. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, share. Thank you so much for watching the end of the video, guys. Have an awesome day.